Hey, is Martin still around then, or like today? Yeah, I don't know, is he going to perform or anything? Well, he was in Vancouver. Somebody hosted a church. Oh, I missed it.
Well, hello there.
Yeah, I just kind of heard about it, but I missed it. It was awesome. Really nice.
We do have one missing member, but he's a roofer and we couldn't get him off the roof. And yeah, somebody got to pay the bill.
Can I take these?
We could never figure it out though. His name is Brian Doerksen and he's our multi-instrumentalist. Incredible musician, plays nylon, electric, acoustic, all kinds of guitars. And he's constantly on the roof with a hammer. Risking his fingers every day. That's me.
Carry on. Long as here.
Okay, well, I'm just gonna tell a bit of my story in song and a few words. And I grew up in the big town of Abbotsford, and I started to have, I would say, an awareness of the spiritual realm as a boy when I would, on summer nights, I would lie on the hillside and I would look up at the stars, and all I can say is that it was like I would hear whispers when I looked at the stars. And I think something, and I became, as you learn science and you start thinking about the awesome vastness of the universe and the power in the sun and all of these things. And yet there's something, I think, greater than power in the universe, and that's love. And if there truly is a creator, a spiritual power and being behind this awesomeness, the only way it translates to us is in love. And for me it was that these whispers of love started to come to me. And anyway, this is a song I wrote called Creation Calls, and out of those childhood moments, and one of my favorite stories connected with this song is somebody paired this song with BBC Planet Earth footage and put it on YouTube, and it's had well over 1 million views. And I went into the video store with my special needs son to exchange a video, and the gal behind there looked at me when I handed my card in, and she said, "That's the weirdest thing ever, because your name is the same as that music guy who does that song about nature and beauty that I keep watching on the internet." And I just kind of mumbled, "Well, that's me." Because I'm kind of a shy guy. And she almost fell over. The guy who wrote that music lives in Abbotsford? Yeah. I just lived down the road there, So, and I could tell that she was the kind of person who never darkened the door of the church, but she loved the video. So anyway, here it is, Creation Calls.
I have felt the world whispering. I have seen your tears fall when I watch the rain. How could I say there is no God when all around creation calls a singing bird, a mighty tree, the listening to the river run, watering you. Fragrance of a rose blue, newborn's cry. How could I say there is no God when all around creation goes a singing bird, a mighty tree, the vast expanse of open seas. I love to stand at ocean shore and feel the thunder breakers roar, to walk through all fields of grain, deep endless blue, horizons gray. Yeah, so that's kind of how the journey started for me. Just I'm being a quiet, shy kind of introvert. Sometimes I struggle in large groups to make connections, and so for me, a lot of those whispers come when I'm alone, especially when I'm alone out in nature. I find myself. Amy Grant said something once that I really resonated. She says, you know, she loves being outside in nature because there you sense the very presence of God, the very presence of love, and nobody's interpreting it for you. Nobody's explaining it. You're just sensing it with your being, and that's a lot. Fast forward a number of years, and Joyce and I, this is my wife Joyce, I think you haven't met her. Fast forward a number of years, we worked on a large creative project that ended up going belly up, and we lost an enormous amount of money, including all the equity in our home. We had risked it in a new business venture, and it had collapsed. We were on the verge of bankruptcy and a whole bunch of just very, very difficult things. And I was offered a job in England, which I was always amazed at. They would, oh, okay. After I've kind of, flared out and kind of burned out with something, somebody else wants to take a risk with me. So we moved to London, England with 5 young children. And didn't know a soul in the city except for the people that had hired us to work there. And my job was training songwriters. Anyway, to make that long story short, one morning I was walking on the streets of London, and I heard the whisper again. And it had been a few years by this point, and in some ways, by this point I was barely hanging on to faith, because so many things in my life hadn't gone the way I hoped they would go. I mean, one of the things, by this point we found out that our son was affected with a condition called Fragile X syndrome, and he was mentally handicapped, and we would have to care for him for the rest of his life. And that wasn't what Joyce and I dreamed about when we got married. You don't dream about signing me up to
be a parent of special needs child, right? So, and then the collapse of this project. Anyway, so we're, you know, you kind of hanging on, and I heard this whisper, and so we're going to sing this song, which came out of that. The next kind of distinct whisper that I heard, and again, to me, it's just this really important thing that God, all-powerful, almighty, doesn't communicate to us via power, even though power could come and kind of blow us away, and like he's constantly finding a way to whisper love to us and acceptance. So anyway, this is the song, Come Now's the Time to Worship. Came out of that whisper in the streets of London, and has gone on to be translated into, I've lost track of how many languages. In fact, just yesterday I was in Vancouver with Martin Smith in his workshop, and a young Iranian woman walked up to me, and she said, you know, we sing your music in Farsi in Iran. And so the believers that are scattered throughout that nation. And anyway, so we'll do a bit of Come Now's the Time, and we'll do a bit of You Shine, which is based on Isaiah. Yeah? And Isaiah is the name of our youngest son.
Oh
Well, fast forward another decade. I don't know what it is about decades with me, but seems like about once a decade I go through something incredibly difficult and dark, and we have kind of a joke. Joyce and I are about to celebrate our 30th wedding anniversary in a few days, and sixth husband. Because, you know, about every 5-ish years or so, I just kind of morph and change. I'm an artist, you know, so, you know, we go through seasons. But 2009, 2010 were some of the most hellish years I've lived and I ever want to live. And there was some issues, some dreadful conflict in our church and situations happening where it felt like in every way my life reached a black, dark, dead end. And the way I describe it is I lost my words. And when you make your living through the use of words, both writing, recording, touring, it's a little bit of a crisis. It's kind of, and I think also what was happening is I was passing through the wall between the first half of life into the second half of life. And then some of the long-term realities of our children and other, it just all kind of lost my words. Dark night of the soul. A year, 2 years goes by, and then something, a little glimmer of light started to open up, and that is through the Book of Psalms. And the Book of Psalms, the 150 Psalms, are in the heart of the Scripture. Is in some ways the most fascinating, crazy part of this thing we call the Bible, because it's not. There's a lot of stuff in the Psalms that you would think that shouldn't be in the Bible. That guy's really angry. That guy's really depressed. You know, that guy. You know, and whoever these guys and probably some women, I don't know how it all worked, because we don't know. But these were songs, these were poems, these were prayers, and they are raw. They're not edited and made all nice and tidy. And all of a sudden in my darkness, I started being able to really relate to these raw songs and prayers that are filled with real, normal people who their surrounding culture is different than ours, but the humanity inside them is the same, and the humanity reaching out for a spiritual connection with God is also the same. And so I, being dark and disoriented and German Mennonite who likes some structure in my life, thought I'm going to start with Psalm 1, and I'm going to try and lift myself out of this. I'm going to sing it. Remember, at this point for 2 years I haven't written anything. So I sing Psalm 1. It's helpful. Except the problem is Psalm 1 is what the theologians call a psalm of orientation, where the world is black and white. If you're the righteous, you need to know the Psalms. It works out perfectly for the righteous, and the wicked, it doesn't. Except the problem is, in my world, it was working out kind of the opposite, where the people who were doing cruel things were prospering, and the people who were trying to do the right thing were suffering. So, but I thought, you know what? I've got nothing else. I've lost my word, so I'm going to just trust that somehow if I start singing the word, that something's going to start recalibrating me. So I sang Psalm 1, and then I sang Psalm 2. And then I got to Psalm 3. Now Psalm 3 has this little what theologians call a superscription above it. It says a psalm of David while he was hiding in the cave. Basically from his son who was trying to kill him to take the throne by force. And we were in a situation where we had gone through a lawsuit, and just like, somebody who at one point we would have thought was a good friend was doing some very nasty things to us from our perspective. And all of a sudden, I'm looking at this psalm going, that's what I'm kind of exactly what I feel, my circumstances are different, but the feeling is the same. Oh Lord, I have so many enemies, they rise against me, they say, fill in the blank what they say, right? So I start singing Psalm 3, and it's just like I start weeping as I start realizing, oh my goodness. I always knew it, but we all go through these things, but all of a sudden you're in the middle of it and you make this connection, you go, I'm not alone. And the whisper, it's like I hear the whisper again. The whisper of love. So, I think to myself, I have to keep this journey going, so then I start singing Psalm 4, and I say, it didn't take me long to realize this is a journey I'm not going to do on my own. And so Teresa, Teresa's been a really dear friend of Joyce and me for a decade-ish, yeah? And one of the things Teresa does is she works with the recovery community, with women coming out of addiction for support, and you found that the Psalms have been such a help, because they speak of that. What's the way you say it? You talk about the human condition, and can you just say that, what you find with the women that you work with?
Yeah, I feel like with the Psalms, it's this journey of humanity that never changes. The landscape changes, the earth is obviously changed, and the way we do life, but the way we feel as human beings. And so the Psalms just connect in such a powerful way, because it gives the permission, let's say, to experience human emotion and to release it, but there's always this tangible sense of hope centered right in the middle of it all, in all of the Psalms. And so these songs, like we did a concert in Oxford Saturday, and we had invited the recovery, we had almost 70 women in recovery come to that concert, and we gave them free tickets for it. They were just crying and celebrating, like every moment, it was like they were just on the journey, right? It was, yeah. So.
And the Psalms, they have the more extremes, like the deep despair and sadness is not censored out, and the incredible joy is not. And somehow in our modern world, and I would describe in the modern church and expression of religion, we've come along with a big compressor
if you understand sound technology, and we've compressed it all into this kind of nice middle zone where everything's just okay. And we don't allow people to express both their deep pain or their incredible joy, because we want to keep it all nice and controlled. And the Psalms don't allow that, really. They say, no, let's just remove that. Be a human being. And you can't, you know, some people have complained to me over the years, oh, that modern worship music, it's way too emotional. I look at it, no, it's not nearly emotional enough. Because humanity, we feel, I want to have a little, here's my little bit of theology I'll throw out for free, totally for free, extra. We feel because God feels first. The reason why we are emotional beings is because we were created by an emotional being. Not by a force. Not by some power just. It's this God who has all power is a deeply emotional being. We feel because God feels. So we set out on this journey, Callum and Brian Doerksen and the four of us decided we're going to do this as a group of friends. We're going to co-write and create settings of the Psalms in sequence without censoring out the hard bits. So we've released Volume 1, which is Psalm 1 to 10, and a couple of bonus, and now we're in the studio recording Volume 2, which is Psalm 11 to 20. We've got a long way to go, but we are having an absolute blast. And it's recalibrating and reshaping me inside. And we're going to just share a couple of them with you. We're going to share with you the psalm that, in a sense, kind of really was my breakthrough moment, Psalm 3. David in the cave, we call it Watching Over Me, and we're going to share maybe our protest song, Psalm 10, which is a protest over the injustice in the world. So we don't just lament and grieve for our own pain, but we protest and lament over the pain in the world. And
I love what Brian usually says. He would say today, if you take issue with any of the lyrics,
have it out with David.
or whoever else.
And Asaph.
Good luck. Might have to wait a while for that, though.
So many enemies, they rise against me, they rise against me. They say that God will never rescue me. That's what they say, that's what they say. You remain my shield on every side. You're all around me. You're all around me. You are the one who holds my head up high. You are my glory. You're still my glory. you answer, providing from your holy mountain. Yeah, I call to you and you answer, providing from your holy mountain. Because you're watching over me, I will sleep and rise in peace. Watching over me, every night. I'm not alone, watching over me. I will not fear my many enemies. So far away, why? Why would you hide on this troubled day? Pursuing the weak, catch them in the schemes they divide. The wicked cat boasting there is no God. Let their own words condemn them. Let their own words condemn them. Let their own words. Let their own words. Arise, Lord my God. Lift up your head, rise. Don't forget the humble who dwell in the land. Don't forget the wicked, despising God in their heart, thinking no one can judge them. But you see it all, and you will repay the godless people will perish. The nation lives without you vanish. They are no more. They are no more. You know the hopes of all the poor. You answer their cries with comfort. Justice will come for fatherless ones, bringing an end to oppression. You bring to an end oppression. Our last song. This is Psalm 6, and it's a lament, but as all good laments in the Psalms are dark, honest, but always tinged with hope, and we call this one Restore Me, and it's it'll be kind of all there in the lyric. Don't rebuke me, or in your wrath turn away. Have mercy on me, Lord, in your anger. Don't chasten me without cause. Your favor is my need, Lord. Feeling weak, I need healing, I need your relief. My bones are in agony, my soul is in anguish inside me. How long
of your unfailing love. Death holds no mention of your name. Who praises you from the grave? Lord, I am worn out. I cannot weep anymore. Have mercy on me, Lord. This constant groaning, this flood of tears on my bed. Your favor is my plea, Lord. Away, away from me, all evil man. My God has heard my pleading for help. The Lord God has heard my cry. The Lord God will answer all my prayers. May all my enemies turn back in shame. May all my enemies turn back in shame when you restore me. When you restore me. When you restore me.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much. I'm ready to go for the next week. How about you? Do you know, I want to tell you real quick, you know that song that Brian sang, You Shine? Do you remember that one? When I first arrived in White Rock, 12, 13 years ago, we landed just over there and we were overlooking the ocean, and God placed us in this place. We'd just come through what he was talking about, Brian, about the gloom of despond, or whatever they called it. It was the tunnel. And we landed in White Rock, and I'll never forget, Praise 106 came on, and You Shine came on, which I'd heard a few times. And back in the old days, maybe a few of you are like me, I used to go to some crazy concerts in the UK. Callum will know all about this, because he's a crazy guy. I used to see, anybody heard of Iggy Pop and David Bowie and people like that? Who else? And the Stranglers. I bet nobody's heard of the Stranglers. He's heard of the Stranglers, of course. So these were like interesting people, and I loved the music, but then I started to think about the lyrics that I was singing to. And they were crazy madness lyrics, you know, that made no sense. They were just full of gloom and doom. And then I just contrast what we've been listening to today, the Psalms. I love the Psalms, and it feeds your soul. And one day the lights came in for me. I thought, why am I singing this garbage? I loved the tunes and the sound, but the garbage that I was singing was ridiculous. And the light came on for me. And 12 or 13 years ago, there was my son and I. My son was a little guy at the time, and we loved boogieing. We liked dancing, because I always used to dance to these crazy guys in the UK. So we danced to You Shine regularly, but on this particular day we just landed in White Rock from Victoria. And that song had so much hope. It was such a hope-filled song. And you know, I came from darkness to light 26 years ago. And I don't know who's here today, but you know, if you've thought about us religious types, I used to always get told or accused of being religious, and I'm not religious, because actually true religion is helping the widows and the orphans and the addicts that Teresa was talking about. And Martin Smith said the other night on Sunday night, he says, you know something? Next time I do a concert, I want to see all the addicts and all the homeless on the front row. And I thought that was so cool. So next time Brian and Joyce drags the crew here, we're going to have a lot more people here at the front. We're going to extend the restaurant. It's going to be about 4 times bigger than this, isn't it, Susan? And that's true religion to me, and that's how we get the world's attention. And when we reach out to the vulnerable, like Teresa was saying. And so I thought I'd give Brian a little breather, because you're not going to let him go now before one more song, are you? No. Do as you go out, could you just remember what I said about an offering? I'd really appreciate it if you just, even if it's $1, put $1 in there. And I hear buskers all the time in the UK when I go into the tube, and I could stay there forever just listening. Well, this is great stuff. We're really blessed today. So
We're going to do that one day.
busking?
Yeah.
Really? I think we should. Yeah. So, and I'm amazed that You Shine was based, did you say on Isaiah, Brian? That is amazing. And I'm going to close out with this. When I felt gloomy and low, I'm interested in what Brian was saying. I was thinking about Isaiah 61:3 says, part of the verse, you've seen it flash up on here, it says that He's given us the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. And I tell you, there's power when you declare the word of God into your situation. And you know something? Somebody doesn't want you to do that, but it works. It does not return void. And for me, You Shine did it for me and Joshua. When we were boogieing, and my 4-year-old son was, what he thought was fun about the dancing, he'd be holding onto my leg while I was trying to dance. So he thought that was very giggly. But I was free. I thought, here I am. I've landed in White Rock. I've come out of the tunnel. And that song to me epitomized freedom and hope and joy. So anyway, we've got to try and convince the band if they do one more song. Is it possible, you think? Yeah. What do you think? But before that, I want to ask Callum a question. And he's probably going to tell a joke or something. Callum, you're a fellow Brit here, and I just wanted to make the most of it.
Yes, I'll do my London accent
He
for you.
sounds like Santa Claus right now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, cool. So I just, as a fellow Brit, Callum, how long have you been here?
8 years.
8 years?
Yeah.
And you still got that?
Still got my London accent, or my Welsh one, but British, yeah.
Right. So you were born in Cardiff?
Born just north of Cardiff,
Right.
a little village called Church Village. And it's called, the way you denote a village in the UK is if it has a church and a pub. No, nothing like that, just a church or a pub. Both of them qualified as a village.
So Callum, with your British eyes, as you look at us, I'm still British, Canadians, have you got any thoughts on your heart? I know you're still full of Britishness, because you never lose it.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything you'd say to us to encourage us? We're coming into a new year soon.
Yeah, but one of the things about not being British, being Canadians, is, I guess it's a good picture as you look out the window here. It feels that Canadians, in contrast to British, don't have the cloud of gloom over you. Like as Brits, that's our default. It's the stiff upper lip thing, it's that. But in Canada, there's something about who you are and how you can connect to God without having this doom and gloom over you. It's not quite the American let's get it done despite all costs. It's a positivity. And I kind of thank Canada for teaching me that. And as Canadians, and I'm a Canadian in training, that's one thing that I would keep encouraging you to do, is keep thinking the best of each other, because God thinks the best of you. And just to keep on doing that. So change nothing.
Thank you, Karen. And thanks for one more, Brian, if that's okay with you. Super. And then if you need to go, please go. But I know you can stay here forever. And we're not going to lock the door. We are going to let the guys go. So bless your heart.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, just to wrap up the theme of Whispers of Love, we're going to sing a song that we didn't write. That's not from the Psalms. Most definitely. Yeah. Teresa gives a chuckle. But it's written by a little bit of a crazy poet, prophet, madman from the 60s. You probably guess who it's written by as soon as I start singing.
If you sing it like, any guesses yet?
But the thing is, this song has become such an important song to me. It's just, it's like, yeah, he's put into poetry what I think we need to experience over and over again.
When the rain is blowing in your face and the whole world is on your case, I could offer you a warm embrace to make you feel my love. When the evening shadows and the stars appear, and there is no one there to dry your tears, I could hold you for a million years to make you feel my love. I know you haven't made your mind up yet, but I could never do you wrong. I've known it from the moment that we met. No doubt in my mind where you belong. I'd go hungry, I'd go black and blue, I'd go crawling down the avenue. No, there's nothing that I wouldn't do to make you feel my love. Like me, yeah. I could make you happy. I could make your dreams come true. No, there's nothing that I wouldn't do. I'd go to the ends of the earth for you to make you feel my love, to make you feel my love, to make you feel my love.
Loved, each and every one of you, deeply, deeply.
While Brian's doing his thing and kind of having a breather, I'm just going to ask Ed to come up real quick. We've got a little treat for Brian. I thought this really was quite interesting. you've got to be gone by 1:30. Fine, have you got a helicopter landing down? So Ed mentioned something to me a couple of weeks ago when he knew that Brian was going to come here. And Ed's about 22 years old now, so he's a fairly young guy. And he mentioned to me something I thought was really cool. And as I said, I've known Brian for about 75 years now. He's been around forever. But I thought it was interesting what Ed said. He's just going to share something of Brian's history, okay?
Okay, just very quickly. This goes back to, I don't know, 20, 25 years ago. We had gone to a conference in Edmonton, a vineyard conference. And we'd heard a little bit about Brian, and he was the worship leader. But I'll never forget this because he had just led worship, he was just a young fellow. And then he went and sat down against the wall, and I think he was pretty tired because he closed his eyes, and he looked like he was just going to have a rest. And the guy who got up to say something began to tell us, preach and so on, and then all at once he stopped. And he said, Brian Doerksen, where are you? And he looked around, and Brian kind of woke up, I guess, a little bit. And then he gave this word, and this is what I'm going to say. It was a word that was absolutely electrifying, because he said how his music was not just going to be touching the vineyard. It was going to be in the Mennonite churches and the Anglican churches, and we just all thought, wow, I mean, that can happen.